What if the reason you're not retiring or not building that thing you've been thinking about doing in retirement has nothing to do with money or timing or even the desire to do it? What if there's an invisible ceiling in your mind that's keeping you stuck in a version of your life that no longer fits? Let's talk about it, the upper limit problem, and why it might be the real reason you haven't made your move yet. There's a concept from a book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks that completely changed how I think about retirement and what life can look like when you actually step into the life you've been longing for but can't seem to pull the trigger. It's called the upper limit problem. And here's what it means. We all have an internal thermostat for how much success, happiness, and freedom we'll allow ourselves to experience. When life starts going too well, when we get too close to what we actually want, we subconsciously find ways to sabotage it, to turn the temperature back down to what feels familiar. Because if things start feeling too good, that feels unfamiliar. And to our reptilian brains, the unfamiliar triggers feelings of danger. Now, you might be thinking, that sounds like a problem for successful people with actual options. I'm just trying to figure out when I could retire. But that's exactly where this shows up most powerfully, in the transition to retirement, in the decision to retire early, in the choice to build something meaningful instead of just coasting. Let me show you what I mean. Let me show you how the upper limit shows up in your retirement decisions. The upper limit problem doesn't announce itself. It disguises itself as logic, as responsibility, as being realistic. Here's how it can show up when you're thinking about retirement. Scenario number one, just one more year. You've done the math, you have enough saved, your financial advisor says you're ready, but you keep saying, just one more year, just to be safe. And then that year passes, and then you say it again, just one more year, you tell yourself. It's about financial security. But what if it's actually about your upper limit? What if some part of you doesn't believe you're allowed to stop working? That it's not safe to stop working? What if it doesn't believe you deserve that much freedom and happiness? Scenario number two, retiring but not really. Let's say you do finally retire, but within 3 months you're back to working, consulting, part-time jobs, or helping out at your old company. You tell yourself you're bored, that you need structure, that you miss contributing. But what if you're actually uncomfortable with that much unstructured time? What if you're uncomfortable with that much freedom to focus on what you want? Scenario number three, the YouTube channel you never start. You've been thinking about starting something new, like a YouTube channel, for example, or writing a book, or building that business you've always talked about. You have the time, you have the ideas, you might even have the equipment, but you never actually start. Or you start and immediately find reasons to stop. You're too old, too late. Who would watch? What would people think? Those are not legitimate concerns. Those are upper limit excuses. Building something visible, something creative, something that's entirely yours, that requires you to expand beyond who you've been, and that triggers your internal thermostat. Are you beginning to recognize the pattern? In every scenario, what's happening is the same. You're approaching more freedom, more fulfillment, more alignment with what you actually want. And your brain creates a seemingly reasonable obstacle to keep you in what feels familiar, even if familiar means unsatisfying. So why does this happen? This is the psychology of it. Why do we do this? Why do capable, intelligent people sabotage the exact things they say they want? Reason number one, your brain prefers the familiar over the fulfilling. Your brain is wired for homeostasis, keeping things stable and status quo. And status quo can mean mildly miserable. When you start moving towards something new, retiring early, building a YouTube channel, pursuing a passion, your brain doesn't recognize that as good. It recognizes it as different, and different feels unsafe. Reason number 2, it's an identity threat. Psychologist Robert Keegan's research shows that most adults unconsciously resist change, not because they don't want to grow, but because change threatens their sense of identity. If you've spent 30 years being the lawyer or the engineer, the dependable one, stepping into retirement or into a creative project can feel like losing who you are. Who are you if you're not working? Who are you if you're making YouTube videos instead of doing something that most people would deem serious and appropriate? The unknown version of you feels threatening, so you stay stuck in the known version, even if it doesn't fit anymore. Reason number 3, success requires being bad at things at first. If you've been doing the same work for many years, you're probably very good at your job. It's comfortable and easy for you, and it's become a big part of your identity. At cocktail parties, when people ask you the question, we always ask each other, "So what do you do for a living?" Your answer is that same old comfortable shoe that you've been wearing for so long. Your identity is built around being that competent individual, good at what you do. You may even excel at it. That's who you are. When you think about starting fresh with new challenges, doing something you've never done before, that can be terrifying. Stepping into something new requires being a beginner, being awkward, making mistakes, not knowing what you're doing. It requires shaking off your old identity and trying on a new one. And if your self-worth comes from competence, being incompetent feels like an existential threat. So you avoid situations where you might not immediately excel, like starting a YouTube channel or writing a book, like retiring before your peers, like doing anything that might make you look foolish. Here's the real life result. Your brain creates logical reasons to stay stuck. You say to yourself, it's not the right time. I'm too old. I need more money. People will judge me. But really, you're just bumping up against your upper limit. Let's see how the upper limit problem shows up in retirement transitions. First is the "who am I without my job" crisis. For decades, when someone asks, "what do?" you have that answer, a credible, respectable answer. I'm a doctor, I'm a financial analyst, I'm a nurse, I'm a general manager, and then you retire, and suddenly you're what? You're retired. That's not an identity. That is a status. So instead of embracing the discomfort of redefining yourself, you either keep working, because at least then you know who you are, or retire, but immediately fill your schedule with busy work so you never have to sit with the problem and figure it out. Or you start something new, but sabotage it before anyone notices, because serious people don't become YouTubers in their 60s. The second is the "I should be grateful" trap. You've worked hard, you've saved, you have comfortable retirement, but you're not happy, you're not fulfilled, you feel like something's missing, and immediately guilt shows up. I should be grateful. Many people have it so much worse than I do. Who am I to want more? That guilt is your upper limit talking. It's telling you that you've already had enough success, enough comfort, enough good things. Wanting more, wanting fulfillment, wanting purpose, wanting joy can feel greedy. So you settle. You tell yourself, this is fine. And you spend the next 20 years in the status quo called fine. Not great, not even especially good, just fine. Third is the "what will people think" paralysis. Maybe you already know you would love to start a YouTube channel, or start a business, or write a book, or ride your bike across Europe, or launch a business, or do something creative and visible, but you can't stop imagining what your former colleagues will think, what your friends will say, what your kids will feel about their mom or dad doing YouTube or riding across Europe. So you don't do it. Or you do it halfway, never really committing. You only allow one foot to step into it. You keep your other foot planted firmly on safe, familiar ground, ready to shrink back into your old identity at any moment with a softly muttered, "Never mind." Because stepping into something that's entirely yours, that reflects who you truly are rather than who people expect you to be, that requires an upper limit expansion. And your brain would much rather you stay small and respected than expansive and judged. Once you understand the upper limit problem, you can start to work with it instead of being controlled by it. You can learn to see your upper limit and figure out how to raise it. Here are 3 strategies that actually work. Strategy number 1, name it in real time. The moment you catch yourself thinking, just one more year, or I'm too old for this, or who would want to hear from me? Stop and say out loud, upper limit moment. That tiny label creates distance between the feeling and the reaction. It lets you see what's happening instead of automatically accepting it and believing it. Research shows that naming an emotion, what psychologists call affect labeling, actually calms the fear center of your brain. Naming it makes it a known quantity, and that helps reduce the fear of the unfamiliar. Every time you name that emotion that you're feeling, you're retraining your brain to see discomfort as data, not danger. Strategy number 2, practice expanding your capacity for receiving good things. When something good happens, your dream location for the florist shop you've been wanting to open becomes available at an affordable price. Or you publish your first video. Someone compliments your idea. Notice your reflex reaction. Most of us immediately downplay it or move on. Oh, it was nothing. I just got lucky. It's probably not that good. Instead, pause for 10 seconds and let it feel good. Don't deflect, don't minimize, just receive it. Neuroscientist Rick Hanson's research shows that when you deliberately savor positive experiences, you literally strengthen the neural pathways in your brain for joy and confidence. You're teaching your nervous system that good things, even unfamiliar things, are safe and that you're allowed to have them. Strategy number 3, rewrite your identity story. Instead of asking, how can I retire successfully, or how can I make this work, ask this: who do I need to become to believe I'm allowed this life? That question shifts everything because it's not about achieving more. It's about expanding who you're willing to be. Maybe you need to become someone who values fulfillment over security. Maybe you need to become someone who's willing to be a beginner. Maybe you need to become someone who doesn't need anyone else's approval to build something meaningful. Your identity isn't fixed, it's flexible. Every time you show up differently, you're quietly raising that internal thermostat. Let me tell you how this showed up for me. I retired from law. I knew I wanted to build something creative, something that would generate income and give me purpose. And since I had taken up art as a hobby and had all these canvases I had created, I decided I should sell them through an art gallery that I created. And I did that for several years. The art gallery was so much fun until it became work. And then I retired again. I had tried YouTube in the past and quit before, and I found myself circling back to this idea of YouTube, teaching people how to build channels as retirement assets and documenting my journey, being visible and honest about the whole process. But every time I got close to actually starting, I'd find a reason not to. I need a better camera. I should take a course. Maybe I should wait until I have it all figured out. It didn't work out last time. Classic upper limiting. And then one day I asked myself, what am I actually afraid of? And the answer was clear. I was afraid of being visible as someone who didn't have it all together, someone who was learning in public, someone who might fail, where people could see. My identity was built around being competent, polished, professional, and YouTube required me to be none of those things, at least not at first. So I had a choice: stay within my upper limit and never expand into this thing, or expand my upper limit by becoming someone who's willing to be imperfect in public. I chose expansion, and I started filming, and you know what happened? The world didn't end. In fact, it got a whole lot better, because once you stop managing everyone else's expectations and start building what's actually yours, everything shifts. If you're watching this and feeling stuck, not miserable, just underwhelmed by your own life, I want you to know something. You're not broken, you're not lazy, you're not too old. You're probably just bumping up against your upper limit. That invisible ceiling that says, you've had enough success, don't be greedy. You're too old to start something new. Who do you think you are to want more? But here is the truth. You're allowed to evolve. In fact, life is all about growth and expansion. You're allowed to retire early if the math works. The truth is, almost everyone wants to retire early. Retiring as early as possible should be a goal for most people. You're allowed to build something creative and visible. Humans are born to create and to share. To deny yourself the opportunity to create something new and to evolve yourself into a more expansive and expressive version of yourself is antithetical to your true nature. You're allowed to want more than fine. By virtue of your birth, you are entitled to the most joyous and fulfilling life you can possibly create for yourself. And if that idea makes you nervous, that's actually a good sign, because it means you're standing right at the edge of your next expansion. The upper limit problem isn't about achievement. It's about permission. Permission to stop working even though you could keep going. Permission to build something new even though others might think it was out of character for you. Permission to desire fulfillment and not just security. And the hardest part, no one's going to give you that permission. You have to give it to yourself. So if you've been saying just one more year for 3 years, or if you've been thinking about that YouTube channel but never starting, if you've retired but you're still not living the life you actually want, ask yourself, am I hitting a real obstacle, or am I just hitting my upper limit? Because once you see the ceiling, you can start dismantling it. Here are 3 questions to reflect on. First, where in your retirement planning or post-retirement life are you saying, I should be grateful for what I have, instead of, I'm allowed to want more? Second, what would you do if you weren't afraid of outgrowing who everyone expects you to be? Third, what's one small way you could expand your upper limit this week? One brave choice, one uncomfortable but exciting yes. Drop your answers in the comments. I read every one, and I'd love to know where you're feeling stuck. And if you're ready to actually start building that YouTube channel or whatever your thing is, subscribe, because I'm documenting my entire journey here and raising my own upper limit in real time. The world doesn't need you to stay small. It needs you to expand into who you're actually capable of being. Ask yourself, who do I need to become to raise my upper limit and step into my next expansion? It's truly exhilarating when you step onto the path toward whom you are meant to be. Just ask anyone who's done it. Better yet, notice the twinkle in their eyes and the pep in their step. When you are expanding joyfully, your whole body shows it. Please join me in this next video right here. I think you'll really like this one. Until next time, bye-bye.